Number one, the Chicago Bears. Another massive game. Maybe a bigger game than the earlier Packers-Bears one. And the Bears did not play well for 3+ quarters of this game. I mean, they could barely move the ball. Somehow, they recover an onside kick. Somehow, they throw a touchdown to some dude I never heard of to send it to overtime. And then Caleb Williams, as he's done many times this season, plays his best at the end, Superman throw to win the game, long touchdown pass to DJ Moore in overtime. And now the Bears, Evan, the Bears are a big favorite to win the NFC North and earn the number 2 seed in the NFC. Evan, what were your thoughts on Caleb and DJ Moore's ending there and the Bears' crazy win over the Packers?
It was just sensational. I mean, the Bears have been solid to really good in almost every area of football to this point in the season. Great offensive line. They get takeaways every week that does not stop. They can run the ball down your throat. I mean, in this game, they averaged 5.8 yards per carry. But the two sort of missing elements, I don't think they're going to be able to fix their pass rush. That's probably their biggest weakness right now. But even Ben Johnson said it a couple of weeks ago, we are winning despite our passing game, or in spite of our passing game. And that's sort of started to shift. I mean, at very least, Caleb Williams has been taking care of the ball, not taking sacks, and then making dramatic late game plays to be the difference maker at the end. And he did that here with DJ Moore.
So it's good to see that DJ Moore still has it in him, right? I mean, DJ Moore has had a woeful season, and you could put that on a lot of different things. He was somewhat underwhelming here until that 46-yard touchdown in overtime. But with no Rome Odunze and no Luther Burden, DJ Moore did play like hard. He was earning targets. He took some big hits and got up and then makes the huge play in overtime. So I guess my point is it's good to see DJ Moore still has it in him. Rome Odunze, they say, is not out for the season. I do not know if he's going to play this week or not. Luther Burden had that ankle injury, did not practice at all last week. I would consider him questionable for this week as well. Evan mentioned the running game. I was impressed with Kyle Monangai, and I continue to be impressed with Kyle Monangai because coming out of school, I did not think that he would be a receiver of the football, and I didn't think he'd like break off big runs. He has been so powerful and explosive, and like from what I've seen, man, Kyle Monangai could easily be a long-term part of a committee. You know, I'm not saying he's going to be like a 20 touch per game guy in a best case in like an optimal scenario, but he can give that to you, and he can pair with someone like a DeAndre Swift for the long term. So big hit for the Bears, I think, in round 7 there with Kyle Monangai.
Great contact balance for Kyle Monangai.
Yeah. Last note I had on the Bears was Colson Loveland with Rome Odunze and Burden out did get a role change. 31 routes on 38 dropbacks for Colson Loveland here. Best of the season by far, but only 3 catches for 30 yards. So a little bit disappointing.
The Packers keyed on him in this game. The Packers went out of their way to take Colson Loveland away, which tells you a lot about how far Colson Loveland has come. He started off his rookie season really, really slow, and how big of a part of the offense that Colson Loveland has become. But the Packers went out of their way to stop him.
Indeed. Story number 2 is the Los Angeles Rams. This was their first game without Davante Adams. This was the massive Thursday night game, and it turned into one of the wilder games of the season. Rams blow a 30-14 fourth quarter lead, lose 38-37 in overtime. I mean, we'll get to that in a second. The Puka stuff, though. I remember like one game Puka was out, and I came on here and I was like, what did you think Davante Adams was going to do with Puka out? And he went nuts. In this one, with Davante out, it's like, what did you think Puka was going to do? 12 catches, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a bomb in overtime. Guys just absolutely unstoppable. And you saw him get some of that goal line stuff also with Davante Adams out. So yeah, just a really, really impressive Puka performance. Unfortunately, Rams lose the game. Evan, what do you think of Puka and the Rams on Thursday night?
I think that Puka is going to maybe end up being the player that you need to win the best balls, to win the FFPC main events, to win, obviously on Thursday night DFS. And I think that's going to remain this because Davante Adams not going to play again. He's definitely not going to play in week 17. And I think that they've all but ruled him out for the rest of the regular season, it sounds like to me.
Yeah, they haven't even ruled him out for this week yet, but I agree with you. I'd be shocked if he played this week. And given the way the Rams operate, they're probably going to play it safe into the playoffs. So
I think McVay,
yeah,
McVay basically indicated that he's going to be done until the playoffs.
Yeah.
Was my takeaway. So it's going to be the Puka show going forward with some Konata Mumfield mixed in at number 2 receiver, Colby Parkinson, who was, the flavor of the week this past week, understandably, because it seemed like he had taken the reins as the Rams' number 1 tight end. He was coming off a 2-touchdown game. He had a really bad game against Seattle. But man, this was an incredible way to start off the week. A very exciting week that, bled into Saturday night with the unbelievable Packers-Bears game, maybe the game of the year. This was maybe the most exciting game of the year. Now the Rams wound up losing, however, and on Sunday, Josh Allen had a pretty quiet statistical game, while Drake May had an amazing fourth quarter, MVP caliber fourth quarter to win against the Ravens. Have you looked at the MVP odds lately?
Yes. So Stafford is still the favorite, slightly over Drake May. And then Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, guys like that are way back. So market still has it a 2-man race here between Stafford and Drake May here down the stretch. Evan mentioned the tight end stuff. Shout out to Nathan Jenke. He said Rams used 13 personnel, in other words, 3 tight end personnel, on 57 plays in this game. They had 3 tight ends on the field, the Rams did in this game, for 57 plays. That is 11 more than any team has used in a game in the last 20 years. In the last 20 years. And the data probably doesn't go back that much further, any further than that. It's probably like the most ever. We're back to like total boomer ball. So they have 3 tight ends on the field for almost every play without Puka, or the vast majority of plays. And Terrence Ferguson, this is nothing new. Terrence Ferguson has been running the same amount of routes as Colby Parkinson, or roughly the same, for a while now. And Terrence Ferguson was the one who came up with the big game here, not Colby Parkinson. So I think that it's going to be really tough to decipher between these guys, Ferguson and Parkinson, on a week-to-week basis. They're running roughly the same amount of routes.
And I think Tyler Higbee is eligible to come back in week 17.
Yeah, we'll see on that. We'll see on that. Yeah. Davis Allen ran 22 routes as well here for the Rams. Evan mentioned Mumfield. Mumfield was the wide receiver too, but because they ran so many 13, 12, and 13 sets, he only ran 26 routes on 51 dropbacks. So yeah, it's great. Mumfield was the wide receiver too, but only about half the routes in this game for Mumfield. Story number 3 comes from Pittsburgh. Steelers somehow, I don't know how, hang on to beat the Lions in Detroit. Great win for them. And then you add in the Ravens' loss on Sunday night. Steelers are now a massive favorite to win the AFC North and be the AFC's number 4 seed. Unfortunately, that was not the story coming out of the game. The story coming out of this game was DK Metcalf, who did not play a very good game, even though he was in a very good spot. He got into it with a fan who he says he has history with, gets into it with a fan on the sideline, kind of shoves the fan, gets suspended for 2 games. He's appealing this. We are recording this Tuesday around 1 p.m. Eastern. Expect to hear something about the appeal sometime this afternoon. But yeah, as it sits now, DK Metcalf is going to be suspended for 2 games, forfeit $555,000 in game checks, and void $45 million in future guaranteed money out of his contract. So rough one for DK Metcalf. Evan, thoughts on that and Steelers win in Detroit?
There is an appeal coming. I think that things may change upon appeal because apparently this fan has all but been stalking DK Metcalf. Now DK Metcalf should not be going over the freaking fans, confronting them, grabbing this fan by his stupid blue hair and pulling him by his stupid blue hair. DK Metcalf, is in the wrong for that. But it sounds like this player has been stalking him. So I'm optimistic for the case of DK Metcalf that he's not going to have to miss 2 games. This is the last 2 games of the regular season. The Steelers are all but in the playoffs. I think their percentage is 93%.
Yeah.
They're obviously, I think they're 2 games ahead now in the AFC North. But I mean, that's a ton of money. I don't care who you are, $555,000 and missing 2 games. That's a big deal.
They do not have a lot behind DK Metcalf if DK Metcalf gets suspended. Obviously, Calvin Austin left this game with a hamstring injury. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers throwing to like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Adam Thielen, Scotty Miller. I mean, it's a joke. And so the story continues to be the running backs. Kenny Gainwell is giving the Steelers just insane production.
Incredible.
And then Jalen Warren in this game, 2 45-yard touchdown runs, 14 carries, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns overall. By the way, Kenny Gainwell has caught 62 balls this season and run for 500 plus yards. And so when you're trying to get the ball out fast, as Aaron Rodgers does on every play, and you have no wide receivers, obviously we've been pushing as many targets as we can to the running backs. It's just, this is getting really outlier on how much they're throwing to Gainwell and the tight ends, but it makes total sense. So, yeah.
Yeah, they were also able to run the ball with extreme efficiency.
Yeah.
Despite missing their starting, they're on their 4th string left tackle. We talked about the dude who's playing there, Dylan Cook. He had a great game. He led 1 sack to Aiden Hutchinson, otherwise had a clean sheet. And they're without their starting left guard, Isaac Sumalo, the Steelers were. And the Lions have been good against the run. All the injuries that the Lions have incurred have been in the secondary, but the Steelers were able to run the ball for big plays against the Lions. And that's probably what the Steelers will try to do in the final 2 games without their number one receiver. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been in control at the line of scrimmage and playing at a really high level over the last 3 games now.
Yep. Story number 4 comes from New Orleans. Yes, the Saints played the Jets. I get it. But Tyler Shuck continues to be, at least continues to make a case to be in the mix for 2026 Saints starting quarterback job and make a case to be the NFL's Rookie of the Year. Shuck goes 32 of 49 for 308 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Saints win 29-6. Shuck has now won 3 straight games, beating the Bucs, Panthers, and Jets. He also has a respectable 86.5 passer rating on the season. He's middle of the pack in completion percentage over expected, ahead of guys like Rodgers and Nix and Baker and Dart. I'm not saying that Tyler Shuck is a star, but I think he's played himself into being, with Tedero McMillan, have a case for Rookie of the Year and maybe start for the Saints next year. So, Evan, what do you think of Shuck against the Jets and thoughts on him and the Saints going forward here?
Yeah, I mean, the Saints are just playing out the string. They got 2 games left. They do have Tennessee coming up next, and that has been a great matchup for every passing game of recent note, except for obviously Gardner Minshew and Chris Oludokun. But I think that Tyler Shuck will finish strong. I mean, I think that at very least he will be competing to start for the Saints at quarterback entering next season. Kellen Moore is not going anywhere. Chris Olave, they need to lock him up. They will, I believe. They've got Devon Vele in place. They've got some good offensive linemen in place. They've got a little bit of a promising future offensively. And, things have not gone in the tank for them. I mean, over the course, they started off in a really tough spot, and they've kind of, trended upward. So you like to see the way that the Saints are finishing offensively under a guy who in Kellen Moore, who I think is a really good offensive mind.
Evan mentioned Chris Olave. He was obviously we got a ton wrong. One of the things we got right was being very high on Chris Olave over the summer. He went nuts here. Chris Olave is now Fantasy's number 6 wide receiver on the season in half PPR. Only Jackson Smith and Jigba, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra, George Pickens, and Jamar Chase better than Chris Olave. And that, if you go back to the summer, the reason that people gave us so much pushback on Olave was he always screws me. We have concussion risk.
It's the concussions.
Yeah, he's had so many concussions. He's had so many bad games. He plays for the Saints. It's just why it's important to look at things on a per route basis and not try to predict injuries. So yeah, huge hit on Olave. Had an awesome year. Last note for me on the Saints. I didn't catch this before the game, but Taysom Hill apparently is telling people that he's retiring, and the Saints are trying to give him some role here to go out on, because he was dead, not doing anything, not getting any touches in this game. 12 carries, 1 pass attempt, and 6 targets. So instead of getting a look at Audric Estime or Evan Hull, Saints decide to give Taysom Hill all this work as he's retiring. So I get it. Sucks for anyone that wanted to see more of Evans, shout out Notre Dame boy, Audric Estime here in this game.
Yeah, I wish that we would have known before the game that this was going to be the Taysom Hill game. I mean, the Saints did everything they could to make this the Taysom Hill game. He had 12 carries. I mean, he was their main running back.
Yeah.
He had 6 targets, and he threw a touchdown pass to Olave. I mean, we're going to be talking about playing him in DFS this upcoming week. I'll be interested to see where he's priced because he's still among the tight ends.
Yeah, and he's still listed as a tight end. It's tough because in the 3 games before that, he barely even touched the ball.
He didn't do anything.
So.
Yeah, this was his final home game, right?
Yes, and so they might not do this next game.
Maybe they won't.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really tough projection. But yeah, I kind of think it was because it was his last home game more than anything. Okay. 5th and final top story of the week is Miami. The Quinn Ewers era got underway with a 45-21 home loss to the Bengals. Ewers, the round 7 rookie out of Texas, 20 of 30, 260 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his first NFL start. I want to get to all the Tua stuff, Evan. That is why this is a top story. But first, I'm curious what you thought of Ewers before we get to the Tua mess.
I mean, I don't really have any great thoughts on Quinn Ewers. The Dolphins kept giving the ball to the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Dolphins had 4. They turned the ball over 4 times in the 3rd quarter alone.
Yeah.
Okay. Devon Achane came away with a pretty good game, and that's really the only takeaway that I had from this offense.
Well, one takeaway was if they're trying to audition guys for next year, and I don't know that they think Quinn Ewers is in the mix. I did not think that he did enough to say, oh, I should be in the mix next year.
Yeah, I mean, they need to get a new GM.
Yeah.
They are probably going to end up getting a new coach.
No, they're not. See, hold on.
Oh.
Don't can my boy. Hold on. Don't can my boy.
Well, I mean, they'll make that. Stephen Ross will make that decision. Adam Levitan will not be deciding on the fate of Mike McDaniel.
He's my brother. Hold on. Hold on. On Sunday, this got lost in the mix because everything's so crazy on Sunday. But on Sunday, Rap Sheet reported, and this is not set in stone, but for what it's worth, Rap Sheet reported that Tua Tagovailoa has likely played his final down for the Dolphins, but Mike McDaniel will be back. And so that kind of raised some eyebrows.
But they have to hire a GM.
Yeah. Tua is owed a fully guaranteed $54 million in 2026. If they choose to release Tua Tagovailoa, it will carry a $99 million cap hit, the most in NFL history for a dead money cap hit. So the ideal outcome for the Dolphins, and like Evan said, they need to get a GM. The ideal outcome is trade Tua Tagovailoa, much like the Russell Wilson stuff, eat a portion of his salary. It's a horrible contract, and whoever the new GM is going to have to figure out how to get out from under it. But they don't have any other answers. They have Quinn Ewers and Zach Wilson. Those are not answers either. So this is a messy situation for the Dolphins here right now. I'll throw some names at you, Evan. I was just thinking about this. This is just off the top of my head. What if you tried to get Tanner McKee or Mac Jones or Malik Willis? I'm not saying those guys are franchise quarterbacks, but I'd love to see them get a chance over Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson or anything like that. So,
yeah, I mean, that'll be the stuff that we're discussing in the offseason.
Last thing from the game here, Devon Achane only a 10% target share. And that's something we worked on a lot in projection. We docked his target share a lot here. Historically, when Tua's been out there, Achane's target share has been extremely high, 20%. When it hasn't been Tua, it's gone way down, and that's what happened here. Only 10% of the targets for Devon Achane stuck. Still had a great game. He's an incredible player. But yeah, only 10% of the targets, not ideal here for Achane. All right, let's go to the NFC now. We'll go in alphabetical order. Start with the Arizona Cardinals. Everything got screwed up here for the Cardinals because Mazda Marvin Harrison returned to mess things up. And they didn't fall behind huge early. And the Falcons did some very good things on Trey McBride. But you add all that up, and Jacoby Brissett's run of 20 plus fantasy points finally ends in one of what I thought was one of the best spots, at least on paper, he's had all season. So, Evan, what do you think of Brissett coming back to earth in this Cardinals loss to the Falcons?
I think that you kind of just need, for the Jacoby Brissett streak to continue, you just kind of needed the Cardinals to get smashed again. That's kind of like what had been fueling all of this. And the Falcons did end up winning, somewhat handily at Arizona, but it was not a smashing. I mean, the Cardinals were winning for a lot of the first half.
Yeah.
And that's not something that you'd really seen a whole lot from the Cardinals. Marvin Harrison came back, but he did not have a catch until there were about 5.5 minutes left in the game. I'm interested to see what happens with the Cardinals regime, because I've really liked every draft. I've really liked the things that Monty Ossenfort has done, not just the players that he's picked, but getting stockpiling picks in future drafts and things like that, trading down. And I actually do like a lot of the players that they've drafted, but they haven't been winning games. I mean, they're 15-33 under the Monty Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon regime, and they got crushed by injuries defensively in this game. They lost Josh Sweat, who has like 11 sacks, to certainly a season-ending injury, maybe something that could bleed into next year. Their first-round pick this year, Walter Nolan, he suffered a really bad injury, and Garrett Williams, one of their better young cornerbacks, he tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
These late season injuries that bleed into the next season are painful, because that dude isn't even going to be able to practice all offseason.
You guys will notice that Evan tried to gloss over Marvin Harrison's return. I think part of the reason that Jacoby Brissett got screwed up here was Marvin Harrison came back. Marvin Harrison came back, dropped a touchdown. He ran 20 routes. He caught one ball for 14 yards, dropped a touchdown. And meanwhile, they put the Maserati, not the Mazda, the Maserati, Michael Wilson, they put him back in this kind of bit role. He only gets 3 targets. Considering how well Michael Wilson has played with Jacoby Brissett, he has to see more than 3 targets. He made an insane touchdown catch, 2 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. But the role got screwed up by Mazda's return, man. I'm telling you, this Mazda stuff is not good. It's just not. It's not good.
Yeah. Who also was not making Jerry Rice-like catches in this game was Trey McBride.
Yeah.
And his streak of 16 consecutive games with 5+ catches finally comes to an end. 4 catches for 27 yards on 8 targets.
Yeah, I was watching this really closely because Evan and I have McBride on our FFPC main team, and the Falcons did everything they could to take away McBride, and that included Jesse Bates, who was awesome in coverage on McBride, and a bunch of doubles, because you saw the other tight end, Elijah Higgins, get off for his best game of the season. Elijah Higgins can play. I know I've mentioned him on here before. I added him a while ago in some of these deep dynasty league stuff. So if something happened to McBride, Elijah Higgins will be very much in play. But yeah, Falcons did a great job. Everybody's game plan is to take Trey McBride out, but the Falcons really executed on it. And shout out to Jesse Bates for being a big part of that. Falcons. So this was the other side of the game we just talked about. Falcons win behind another big Bijan Robinson game. Story to me was the return of Drake London. No full practices last week. LP, DNP, coming off a PCL injury, wants to play. They let him play. Runs a ton of routes. Still only 3 catches for 27 yards. So shout out to him, I guess, for playing through it. Seems like a huge risk to me. But yeah, Evan, what do you think of London's return and Falcons win in Arizona?
I think that, I wonder if he has some sort of an incentive in his contract to get to a certain number of games played, because I don't think he was 100%. He left the game at one point. He had 3 catches on 8 targets. And despite the return of Drake London, the Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts connection continued. Another game of 7 catches plus for Kyle Pitts. He got in the end zone. He's been a monster in all but one of Kirk Cousins' starts this season. He's been up there with Trey McBride in terms of production in Kirk Cousins starts this year.
100%. Falcons were leading this game for much of the second half, so they end up getting off 32 running back carries split evenly between Bijan and Algier. And, Algier also got a carry inside the 5, gets tackled at the 1-inch line. Kirk Cousins sneaks it in. And, in these spots where Falcons are winning the game and get off a lot of running back carries, Algier continues to prove that he can be a very, very efficient back on the ground. Panthers. This was the biggest game of the Bryce Young era by a mile, and the Panthers win it, beat the Bucs 23-20, and now the Panthers are just like a small dog to win the NFC South and make the playoffs. It wasn't like Bryce Young was spectacular, but a couple good throws to Tedoroa McMillan, and Bryce finishes with 191 yards and 2 touchdowns on 32 attempts. So they let him drop back more than they have in a lot of these games. They needed it. Comes back and wins. Evan, what do you think of this huge Panthers win over the Bucs on Sunday?
Yeah, they didn't run a ton of plays. They only had 54 plays on offense. It was a lot of this game was so frustrating if you were a Tampa Bay fan. Last 2 games have been so frustrating, and we'll get to them. But I mean, the Panthers didn't really do anything particularly spectacular on offense. I did think Jalen Coker did not have a big box score or anything like that, but he made some critical catches. I think he's a legit number 2 receiver to Tet's number 1. But I mean, it wasn't like a standout offensive performance. The Panthers are just kind of solid across the board. They're pretty good in pass defense. They're pretty good, especially in these big games at Derrick Brown. Derrick Brown was a beast in this game. But they're pretty good in that aspect. They can run the ball more often than not. They've got a powerful offensive line. And they're kind of just capable at every aspect of football. And that has allowed them in a division with, a bunch of teams that underachieve or underwhelm in some way. I mean, that has allowed them to rise to the top late in the season.
So I mentioned that the Panthers are a small dog here to make the playoffs, but they do control their own destiny. The reason they're a small dog is because they have to play the Seahawks next and then the Bucs again. But if they win both of those games, they do win the NFC South and make the playoffs, of course. So tons to play for here, and tons to play for Tedoroa McMillan, who, we talked a ton about early in the season in the Offensive Rookie of the Year race, have some 16-1 on him. He is now minus 370 to be the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mentioned Tyler Shuck is currently second in the betting market there for OROY. Cowboys. Cowboys couldn't stop Justin Herbert, man. I mean, not only could they not stop Justin Herbert, but they couldn't move the ball themselves in the second half at all, and they lose again. Cowboys are now 6-8-1. That's 3 straight losses, and their playoff hopes are over. Highlight was our hero, George Pickens, bouncing back to life here, 7-131 on 9 targets, but not enough for the Cowboys. Another disappointing season here for Dallas. Evan, what do you think of their season-ending loss to the Chargers?
Yeah, and shout out to Leone for being high on George Pickens entering this game, because if you looked at his recent production and you looked at the matchup, there were no really positive indicators for George Pickens outside of the fact that the dude is awesome, his quarterback is awesome, and sometimes that's just all you need.
Yeah.
And that's what it was with George Pickens. I mean, he really got his head back in the game, and he was dominant for long stretches against the Chargers, who have been incredible at defending the perimeter. Entering this game had allowed the fewest 20-plus yard completions in the AFC. So for him to come up like that, I thought Dak was spectacular in this game. But I didn't have I did know Trey Wingo noted that this would be Dak Prescott is in line to lead the NFL in passing yards. He would become the first Cowboys quarterback ever to lead the NFL in passing yards, and Cowboys have had some pretty good quarterbacks over the years.
Yeah. Ryan Flournoy scored a touchdown but got hurt soon after. I just want to note that because Dak Prescott clearly likes throwing to this dude. I mean, he's had some big games.
Yeah. I think he's good.
Hurt his knee in this game, though, and it was a quiet CD game and a quiet Ferguson game. The splits for Ferguson have not been great when CD has been active this season. So that's just something I wanted to note going forward there. Like, Ferguson was great when CD was out, and I thought Ferguson had a really nice year, but the splits are way different when CD is out there.
He's also just not very good. Jake Ferguson is kind of a jag.
Yep. Lions lose a home game to the Steelers here. I mean, this was a crazy ending, but the Lions are now drawing very thin to make the playoffs, like 6% or so. It was a really weird game for the Lions. I mean, Amon-Ra had some bad drops. He had a touchdown called back by a pick play. He had an offensive pass interference call at the end. Isaac Tesla dropped a catchable touchdown to win the game for them also. Jahmyr Gibbs, again, couldn't run the ball. Just weird game, but bottom line is Lions are now 8-7, and as I said, 6% or so to make the playoffs. Evan, what do you think of Lions' loss to the Steelers?
I was driving across the freaking Midwest the past couple of days, back and forth, and I was listening to this game on the radio, the first half of this game. We got the Goff Amon-Ra stack in the FFPC main event, and Brian Baldinger was on the color. And I love Brian Baldinger.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the freaking man. He played in the NFL for a long time. He's like almost a reporter. He's great with X's and O's. He's awesome on social media. Anyways, it was a treat to listen to him. He has so many like interesting insights during the game. First of all, the Lions' interior offensive line got caved in this game. So you look at the production of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, which is almost non-existent, and you can point directly to the fact that the Lions just couldn't do anything on the interior offensive line, and that also showed up, especially in the first half, to Jared Goff's pass protection. And at one point, Baldinger thought, because Jared Goff had like 3 passes that were just like fluttered like egg beaters out of his hands. He was worried that maybe Jared Goff had some sort of injury. Jared Goff wound up with pretty good numbers in the game, 364 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the offensive line in Detroit has become like a big, big issue down the stretch due to injuries. I think they're on their 3rd string center.
Yeah.
Dudes are missing practice all the time during the week. But that was a big story during the game.
Yeah, I mean, people want to blame Saquon for the running woes of the Eagles. Jahmyr Gibbs has been under 4.0 yards per carry in 4 straight games. To me, both of these situations are offensive line, related. And so I do not. I know everybody wants to blame how many carries Saquon had last year or whatever. It's not a coincidence, man. The Eagles' offensive line and the Lions' offensive line have regressed so hard. And you end up with stuff like this. Again, Jahmyr Gibbs under 4.0 yards per carry in 4 straight games is crazy. It's insane. But you're only as good as your offensive line when you're the running back.
The good news, he had a ton of catches.
Yeah, 10 more catches for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah. So that helps, obviously, in fantasy. They need to keep feeding him. I mean, at some point, like, you got to kind of acknowledge that you can't create any space on the interior. Just try to get him on the edges constantly. And, I mean, the Lions had a chance to win this game.
Oh.
They were, we needed them to win this game because the touchdown that got called back would have really helped our FFPC main event team.
Indeed. Yeah, they had a ton of chances to win this game. All right. Packers. Just an awful choke from the Packers. And yes, I know that Jordan Love left this game early with a concussion, but Malik Willis was very good, I thought. They dominate this game. They're on track, the Packers are, to wrapping up the division, wrapping up the 2 seed. Romeo Doubs can't catch the onside kick. They lose in overtime. Just a devastating loss for the Packers. Evan, what do you think of their game against the Bears?
I remember Malik Willis coming out of Liberty, and people thought he was going to be the top 3 pick in the draft or whatever, and he falls to the 3rd round, and then it's like the preseason. It's like, oh my God, this guy is totally clueless. He has no clue what he's doing. I mean, he gets given up on. He ends up with the Packers, and I mean, I don't want to give all the credit to the coaches, because a ton of it's got to be on Malik Willis. He's the player. He makes the improvements, but he is so vastly improved from what he was when he was just a raw talent coming out of Liberty. He is dynamic as a runner. He can absolutely throw the ball at an NFL caliber level, and we saw that, especially on that touchdown to Romeo Doubs down the left sideline. But I'm with you, and I've seen you talking about this a little bit. Like, you want to see Malik Willis become a starter in the NFL, or at least get a chance to become a starter in the NFL by 2026.
He should get a chance to compete at some point. And I'm also saying that selfishly from a fantasy standpoint, because I think Malik Willis might be the best runner at the quarterback position in the entire league. Like, better than Lamar. Like, he is insane when he gets to the edge. And I don't mean prime Lamar. I mean like the way Lamar's been running this year. But man, Malik can really, really run. And in this game, 9 of 11 for 121 passing and a touchdown. Like, I want to see it. Now, he did hurt his shoulder here, and Jordan Love is in concussion protocol. So we'll see what happens here. They play on Saturday this week. They played on Saturday last week. Play on Saturday again this week. So a standard 7 days for Jordan Love to get cleared here for the Packers.
I assume you want to talk about the RBs. One minor note,
Yeah.
John Fitzpatrick, who had actually been leading the Packers in playing time at tight end, tore his Achilles in this game. And Luke Musgrave had at least a little bit of production. But I assume that he will have to play more in their final 2 games. That is Luke Musgrave, who was a second-round pick a few years ago.
Yep. Josh Jacobs stuff, man. God, it was so frustrating. I know, like, I hate second guessing, but playing in that game against Denver, when you had this huge game against the Bears coming up, I just never got it. And so Jacobs was active here, clearly was not himself, couldn't even stay in the game. The injury to his knee is not so bad that he can't be out there. He was out there for the onside kick, but he was just so ineffective and hurting or whatever. They went with Emmanuel Wilson.
And Wilson was great.
And Wilson was great for the entire second half. But God, it was so frustrating for anyone that needed Josh Jacobs in that game on Saturday, because I just knew playing that Broncos game was going to end up being trouble.
It's a really tough situation when you got a freaking warrior, 7-year, 8-year veteran, Josh Jacobs, who has done so much, and he just wants to play. I mean, he said it publicly. He's like, I don't care that I'm hurt. Like, I would rather be out there playing than watching. And it's hard to say no to a guy like that.
Yeah.
But, in hindsight, the Packers probably should have said no to him, because, I mean, they have a high quality number 2 back in Emmanuel Wilson.
Let's go to the Vikings. Vikings do beat the Giants 16-13, but J.J. McCarthy hurt his throwing hand in this game, did not play at all in the second half. X-rays were negative. I would consider J.J. McCarthy questionable for the Christmas Day game against the Lions. I mean, if he can't go, we'll have to see Max Brosmer again. Not that I want to see McCarthy either, really, but I guess it's at least interesting. Brosmer is not interesting at all. Before J.J. McCarthy left of this game, he did hit Jordan Addison for a touchdown. Should have been a touchdown. Addison dropped it. I thought McCarthy also showed some more chemistry with Justin Jefferson. That was something we talked about.
One of Jefferson's best games of the season.
For sure. But McCarthy took 3 sacks, threw an interception. He didn't see the blitzer and took a sack fumble that the Giants returned for a touchdown. So I'm hesitant to say it was good from McCarthy, but at least he got Justin Jefferson going a little bit. Evan, thoughts on J.J. McCarthy and Vikings win over the Giants?
Yeah, it's just, when J.J. McCarthy's in there, even in his, quote unquote good games, there's never really a timing and rhythm to the offense. Like, it's always just individual plays. What's going to happen on this play? What's going to happen on this play? There's no real flow or script. And that's a really tough way to play offense in the NFL. So that's what we've seen so far. And I mean, I don't know. I got to write up these Christmas Day games actually right after this. And I got to try to figure out if they're going to start Max Brosmer or if J.J. McCarthy's going to make it out there. My guess is it's going to be Max Brosmer.
Yeah. I'll say this, man. McCarthy has had a lot of injuries in a very young career. He's had a high ankle sprain, a concussion, a hand injury now, and he missed his entire rookie year due to a torn meniscus. I mean, that's a lot of injuries in a short period of time for a young quarterback.
And one more note, Ryan Kelly, who the Vikings paid a decent sum of money to in the offseason to solidify their center position, which he really hasn't. He suffered another concussion. And, I mean, he's got a million concussions over the past few years. And Christian Darrisaw placed on IR, done for the season.
Yeah, more injuries. Jordan Mason hurt his ankle on the opening drive. Aaron Jones also banged up his ankle, but he was able to finish the game. Xavier Scott is their next man up. And then they might get Ty Chandler active also. Ty Chandler was not active for this game, but I do not think Jordan Mason is going to play Thursday. I do think Aaron Jones is going to play, but on a short week. He's coming off an ankle also. We're going to have plenty of work for Xavier Scott and or Ty Chandler here in this game on Thursday as well. Giants. Honestly, man, I don't know what you think, Evan, but I'm not sure what Mike Kafka is doing. They have had this wild negative pass rate over expectation since he took over. I mean, in neutral and trailing situations under Mike Kafka, the Giants are running more than any team in the NFL. In this game, home against J.J. McCarthy, they weren't all called runs, but they had 15 straight runs to start the game. 15 straight runs. Jackson Dart ended up dropping back just 19 times. So I don't know if Kafka thinks this is like his best way to get the job or someone told him to do this, but whatever it is not good for Wan'Dale Robinson. It is not good for Darius Slayton. It is not good for Jackson Dart. They are just running and running and running and running. So I don't know why, but that's what's going on. Evan, thoughts on Giants loss to the Vikings?
I don't either. I mean, I don't really understand it either. There must have been some sort of a directive like, oh, this is a way that we can protect our first round quarterback, Jackson Dart, running the ball. That's the best guess that I can come up with. I mean, Mike Kafka himself was, a quarterback.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Also, they lost Andrew Thomas, their stud left tackle, to a hamstring injury. My guess is he'll be done for the season. They've got a game coming up with the Raiders, and I think they're both 2-13.
Giants currently hold the tiebreaker. If the season ended today, Giants would get the number 1 overall pick. This game this week against the Raiders is so interesting because whoever loses it is probably going to get the number 1 pick. Now, I do not think players and I do not think coaches want to go out there and lose ever. So, I'm going to be probably playing Ashton Genty and Tyrone Tracy and Brock Bowers or whatever else I want to play, this week and not worry about it. But it's at least in my mind that I'm sure general manager, front office, owner should be rooting for their team to lose this.
It's also going to be really interesting to see what they do in the offseason with Jackson Dart, especially if they get the number 1 overall pick and they, decide that Deontay Moore out of Oregon or somebody is worthy of the number 1 overall pick. There's a lot to be decided again with the Giants organization.
Let's go to the Eagles. Remember, the Eagles beat up on the Raiders in week 15, and then in week 16, they get to play the Commanders. So everything seems rosy again in Philly. Even Saquon Barkley had a vintage game here against the Commanders. He had this insane 48-yard run. He kind of spun out of it in the backfield, makes a dude miss, finishes with 21, 132, 1. Eagles do clinch the NFC East. But, given the matchups, I'm not saying the Eagles are out of the woods with their offensive woes, but it's at least good to see Saquon get going with runs like he had last year. Evan, what do you think of Eagles win over the Commanders?
Yeah, and the Eagles have had some really soft opponents lately. The Raiders the week prior, the Commanders. But I feel like their offense is starting to, at least the running game is showing signs of life. I mean, Saquon over his last 3, I know you hated that Saquon had 3.5 yards per carry against the Raiders. But if you just look at his last 3, I mean, he's been hyper efficient, banging long runs. Over their last 8 games, the Eagles have run for 100+ yards in 6 of their last 8 games. It sounds like Lane Johnson is going to be back against Buffalo. You can run on Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe a month ago I was like, oh, this is 2023 all over again for the Eagles. And now I kind of think they're just like maybe the team that nobody's talking about right now that can get back to the Super Bowl.
I mean, in terms of talent on the roster, I could easily make a case the Eagles have the most talent, again, of any team in the entire NFL, easily. So they're going to come into the playoffs, I think, on a high. Like Evan said, they get to play Buffalo, and then they get to play the Commanders again. They're going to go into the playoffs on a high and certainly can get hot and make a run given how much talent they have. More Dallas Goedert touchdowns here, Evan. I mean, it's crazy, Dallas Goedert's red zone role this year. Targets inside the 10-yard line this season. Dallas Goedert, 8. A.J. Brown, 5. Devontae Smith, 3. I mean, they have so many plays for Goddard here around the goal line, and they've been effective with them. 49ers. So this was last night's game, and Brock Purdy was dealing 295 yards and 5 touchdowns as the 49ers predictably continue to be one of the offenses you've needed in the second half of the season. They put 48 on the Colts and move to 11-4. Evan, what do you think of Niners rolling of the Colts last night?
Yeah, I feel like, we kind of saw this coming. It really saddens me that Ricky Pearsall can't be a part of this because of that freaking hip drop tackle that happened in the last game. He was on his way to 100 yards in that game as well. But the defense has been shredded by injuries, and it's a Kyle Shanahan offense that all got healthy kind of at the same time with the exception of Pearsall. And they had that Week 14 bye, which we complain about. I think Kyle Shanahan even complained about it. But it kind of was perfect for this particular team because you saw Brock Purdy playing like absolute crap going into the bye. And since the bye, and I understand context, Colts were missing both their starting cornerbacks. Previous game was against Tennessee.
And Buckner, they were missing, yeah.
Yeah, and Brock Purdy. But, I mean, Brock Purdy has been balling out in these two games. George Kittle has been balling out. Let's hope that he's okay after this ankle thing. But, I mean, the 49ers have gone 21 straight possessions without a punt. Against the Colts, they had 9 possessions, the 49ers did, 5 touchdowns and 2 field goals. So they're scoring almost every time they get it. And this was noted by Pro Football Focus. Brock Purdy had the best Pro Football Focus grade of any quarterback in any game all year against the Colts.
Yeah. By the way, the 49ers are not dead to win the NFC West. In fact, they're very live. They're only like plus 190 or something to win the NFC West. They play the Bears and then the Seahawks. If they beat the Bears
both at home.
Yeah, I mean, if they beat the Bears this week, that Seahawks game in week 18 could be for all the marbles. Not only the NFC West title, but the first round bye as well. And also, Kyle Shanahan has put himself in the mix for NFL Coach of the Year. It's basically a pick'em right now between him and Mike Vrabel. I think Mike McDonald, Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen all have cases as well. But Kyle Shanahan, given all the injuries they've had, I mean, he's done an incredible job. Has Kyle
Second
Shanahan.
Straight year in a row that I think the 49ers have the most adjusted games loss according to Aaron Schatz's formula. Also, this was Christian McCaffrey's first 20-plus yard run all season.
Yeah. On McCaffrey, man, like, next time someone tells you they can predict injuries, just show him this McCaffrey season. He's played in every single game. He's getting 24.8 touches per game. He leads the entire NFL in touches from scrimmage. He's playing 56 snaps per game, has not been hurt once as a 29-year-old workhorse running back with an injury history. You know, it's like every workhorse running back is a favorite to get hurt. Trying to predict which one it's going to be is just a fool's errand. I do think that we had it right. I mean, we were well ahead of market. We were like 6 or 7 overall on McCaffrey. The only reason we weren't higher, we had docs on him for efficiency. You know, 29-year-old running backs, there is age decay there. And so, yeah, he has been less efficient than normal. He's been at like 3.7, 3.8 yards per carry. As Evan just said, first 20-yard run in a long time for Christian McCaffrey in this game. So unbelievable season for McCaffrey. Also unbelievable last night. George Kittle was unreal. I mean, just dominant. He kind of rolled his ankle. I don't think that it's serious because he was on the sideline, still in full pads, kind of jumping around with his team at the end. So I think George Kittle will end up being fine. Seahawks. I mean, the win of a lifetime on Thursday night for the Seahawks. Storm back from 2. I thought they were dead. They stormed back from 2 touchdowns down in the fourth quarter, win in overtime on a Jackson Smith and Jigba touchdown, plus a 2-pointer. Now the Seahawks are suddenly slight favorites to win the division, slight favorite to be the number 1 seed and get by home field throughout. So just an unreal win for the Seahawks over the Rams on Thursday night. Evan, what do you think of Darnold and company in that big win?
How about Kenneth Walker?
Unreal.
I mean, you know, hoping for him to do something like this every single week, and then he does it on a Thursday night island game long after everybody's given up on him.
Yeah.
How about that? And also, I love to see this for Sam Darnold because, I mean, I've been a Sam Darnold supporter since back in the freaking Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa, Chris Herndon. How about that? How about that poll? I've always been a supporter of Sam Darnold. He's gone through some really, really tough times. And I mean, the book on him obviously is that he just chokes whenever anything gets difficult. And I mean, that has been right.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden, I felt like he just maybe pulled the monkey off of his back here. Such a huge win for Seattle, who, I mean, you can now make a legit case is the best team in the NFL. I don't know that I would necessarily agree, but they certainly have a case for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, NFC is good.
Oh, and also, oh my God, I don't know if you were following like the freaking social media during this game, but like everyone's like, man, would really suck to have Jackson Smith at Jigba in in fantasy this week. He's just letting everybody down. But I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba, you can never forget, Jackson Smith and Jigba is inevitable, and he winds up going 8 for 96 and a touchdown.
Ask Brian Hartline. Yeah, needed overtime to do it as well there. I whatever. Nobody cares, but whatever. There were some guys that did bust in a big way, like Josh Allen, had his worst game of his career in the worst time in the fantasy semifinal. So that kind of stuff certainly can happen. Sucks, but yeah. JSN is just unreal. Last note for me on the Seahawks. Cooper Kupp, 38 routes. Rashid Shaheed, 26. And that was kind of disappointing to me, considering we saw Rashid Shaheed run more routes than Kupp the week before. So it's a bit fluid there. I'd love to see more Shaheed, but for now, at least, still behind Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, did have a 58-yard punt return at the end of this game. Oh, man, what a wild game that was. Like, the win probability must have just been going up and down.
One of the games of the year, for sure. Tampa Bay Bucks. Bucks are just, wheels are off, man. I mean, that game they lost in week 15 was insane. Then they go here in week 16, and they lose to the Panthers. And Baker, I don't know what you think, Evan. I mean, clearly he's had injury woes, shoulder issues. Clearly the offensive line has not been what we expected it to be. Tristan Wirfs has been hurt. Liam Cohen has hurt probably more than we thought that it would. Whatever it is, though, Baker Mayfield has been like flat bad for a lot of this season, a lot of the last month to 2 months. And he was again here. So thoughts on Bucks loss to the Panthers?
Yeah, and coming up small in really big spots. I mean, week after week after week with Baker Mayfield. It's really problematic. This is another offense that I think is just a play-to-play offense. There's no rhythm and timing and consistency to the offense whatsoever. And getting back all the dudes, Jalen McMillan comes back. You know, Godwin came back a while ago. Mike Evans comes back. Like, that hasn't, sparked anything. So having all his dudes has not helped Baker Mayfield. I think it's been going on for 2 months. I had in my notes that they're really missing Liam Cohen. It also bothered me, the post-game comments from Todd Bowles. And I think Todd Bowles is like a legit good coach and like a great man and everything else. He's talking about the number of run plays that they had after a loss. Talking about the number of run plays that they had and time of possession. He's like, we got 30 run plays and we dominated time of possession and we still lost. Like, that is like freaking prehistoric thinking. That's just I would, like, if I was a Bucs fan, I would not like to hear that. I think it's kind of time that they turn the page.
Yeah, so this is what happens when you have a defensive-minded head coach. You have really good offensive coordinators, but you can't keep them. And so they lost Dave Canales and they lost Liam Cohen because they could not give him the head coaching job over Todd Bowles. And now you see what happens. The offense is sputtering, and I think a lot of that has to do with them letting go of Canales and Liam Cohen. Also in this game, this was the biggest game of the year. They finally had all their wide receivers healthy. Emeka Egbuka only ran 15 routes on 30 Baker dropbacks. Jalen McMillan ran 22, Mike Evans 24, Chris Godwin 26. Egbuka, man, he was definitely getting lucky on efficiency early in the season, but I did not think that it would get this bad where he's playing behind Jalen McMillan in the biggest game of the year. So I still think Emeka Egbuka is a baller. I'm so excited for him going forward. Evans and Godwin aren't going to be there forever. But yeah, not a great sign here that they reduced his role big time in the biggest game of the season.
Yeah. To me, it wasn't that surprising though, Adam. If you think of like just, all right, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they're going to be locked in as the number. Whenever everybody's healthy, Godwin and Evans are going to be the 1 and 2. And then the other guys are like going to kind of like compete and share time as the numbers 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what I expected.
Yeah.
And think of it in those terms.
That's fair, but I did not expect him to be behind Jalen McMillan, who I like, but is not nearly the same talent level, I think, as Emeka Egbuka. Last note, just to reiterate what we've talked about over the last few weeks with Bucky Irving. It came to fruition here. Sean Tucker was in for the goal line stuff. He scored from close, and then Bucky got 0 targets. Rashad White's out there in passing snaps. So it's really hard right now for Bucky. Just
came through that J.J. McCarthy is out for Thursday. Max Brosmer, I expect, will start. That's not the report. But
yes.
J.J. McCarthy is out with a hairline fracture in his hand.
Yes, confirmed fracture in his throwing hand. Another injury for J.J. McCarthy. And yes, confirmed Max Brosmer will start Thursday's game against the Lions. Last NFC team is the Washington football team. Commanders playing out the string here, lose to the Eagles, lose Marcus Mariota in the process. Jaden Daniels is shut down. Just a lost season overall. They'll probably go with Josh Johnson on Thursday. Lone bright spot to me in this game for the Commanders was Chris Rodriguez. Thought he played a really good game, 15 carries, 63 yards, and a touchdown, playing ahead of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Evan, any Commanders thoughts here heading into the final 2 weeks?
No, I will have more thoughts in my Thursday game write-up, which is going to be the first game that I write up right after we finish this show.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that they might start at quarterback Sam Hartman, who they've had on their practice squad.
Maybe they could. They haven't announced yet, so yeah.
Okay, they have not announced yet. Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. But Josh Johnson obviously has been around for a million years, played for like half the teams in the league.
Yeah, just back to a second to the JCM or Bill stuff. People are all excited. He shredded the Giants last week. Commanders showed you what they thought. Immediately, C-Rod back in as a starter, out-carried JCM 15-8. And that's tough because JCM is stone zero in the pass game also. So, yeah, just a lost season here for the Commanders. All right. Playoff best ball action is here, and there is no better way to get closer to the action than with the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Right now, our partners at DK are giving new customers a shot to play free for their share in millions of prizes with their first deposit on the app. Simply download DraftKings and enter promo code ETR during signup to play free for your share of millions in playoff best ball with your first deposit. We also have rankings if you have the best ball product at ETR. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit required. One single-use 3-hour ticket rewarded that expires in 14 days. Ends December 31st. See terms at DraftKings.com/promotions. Let's move it to the AFC now. Start with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, just so unlucky all year, but Lamar Jackson goes down with a back injury at the end of the first half. Kind of got kneed in his lower left side by Craig Woodson. It's just a contusion, and he tried to take a pain injection, still couldn't return to the game. Ravens blow a late lead and are now drawing extremely thin to make the playoffs. Not dead, but extremely thin. Just really unlucky for Lamar and the Ravens here. Evan, what do you think of their game on Sunday night against the Patriots?
Yeah, and they are also drawing a ton of heat right now for having not given Derrick Henry a carry in like the final 12 plus minutes of the game, which I understand. I mean, this is freaking December. Derrick Henry was like getting better over the course of the game. And I mean, he was dominant in the game. It kind of makes me wonder, and he did lose a bad fumble. It does kind of make me wonder if like some heads are going to roll here. You start to see a little bit of chatter about John Harbaugh. Maybe his time is up. Todd Monken has been he was so awesome for them the previous 2 years. I mean, Lamar played like an MVP. Lamar played the best football of his career, I think, the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, who's calling those plays that, draw all the bad publicity when it comes to Derrick Henry not getting it's probably Todd Monken, some package that he had in that got Keaton Mitchell on the field instead. And, I'm not trying to excuse Todd Monken. I'm just suggesting that like maybe some heads are about to roll here.
I would not clean house if I was the Ravens. They were so good the previous 2 years. Lamar, as Evan said, I thought should have been the MVP probably each of the last 2 years. And now you're going to go clean house because he played hurt all season. Like, I don't get that. Like, if Lamar was healthy all season, maybe I could see it. But Lamar has not been healthy for almost all of this season. So you're hamstringing Harbaugh and Monken and everybody else when Lamar is not healthy. I mean, that's just is what it is. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Derrick Henry, they were like, oh, it was the rotation of the running backs. It was Keaton Mitchell's turn. If we had one more series, Derrick Henry was going to be out there. Come on, that's inexcusable. One of the biggest games of the year. You're winning it late. It's got to be Derrick Henry in there. It's got to be. I kind of think Lamar's going to come back and play. Like, they're not out of the playoff race. You know how these NFL coaches are. They have a 4% chance, a 5% chance. In coaches' heads, that means it's a 100% chance. So I think Lamar Jackson, assuming that the contusion can heal over the next few days, which I assume that it will, I think Lamar's going to end up playing on whatever day that game is, Saturday or Sunday. Saturday at Green Bay. But if not, it'll be Tyler Huntley here once again. Bills. This was a tough spot for the Bills. I know it shouldn't seem like it, considering they were playing the Browns, but in week 15, Bills had that wild comeback win against the Patriots. In week 17, they have the Eagles. They have not been a road game, and sandwiched in between those two games was a road game at Cleveland. Now, I did not think Josh Allen would have one of the worst fantasy games, maybe the worst fantasy game of his entire life. How does Josh Allen run for just 17 yards, throw for just 130, and account for 0 touchdowns? I mean, that is wild game. Like bottom 0.1% percentile game for Josh Allen. But they get the win. Evan, what do you think of Bills?
Yeah, I also have to capitulate badly because the Bills did the exact opposite of what I thought that they would do, which was let Josh Allen be Superman. They did the exact opposite. The Bills had their highest under center rate the entire season. They went to Cleveland and they were very conservative. They handed the ball off relentlessly to James Cook, which worked really well. Going to Cleveland, I don't care how bad the Browns are, like that's a dangerous place to play. And I think the Bills kind of identified that early, and they're like, no, we're not going to do the Superman thing with Josh Allen. We're going to play this thing really conservative. We're going to go there. We're going to eke out a win. I mean, obviously you'd rather win by 1,000,000, but I mean, we're going to go play a conservative brand of football because we're better than the Browns are. And we're not gonna go crazy. I think that's kind of the plan that they kind of had, and that's what they executed.
I mean, when your weapons are so bad, that's got to be the plan a lot, right? And that concerns me for the Bills in the playoffs. Like, Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch again here, which is just insane considering he's competing with guys that like can't even play. I mean, like Shavers and guys like this that are primary targets now. It's crazy. The Bills are now plus 850 to win the Super Bowl. I think they are still live to win the Super Bowl because they have Josh Allen. But it would take a heroic performance considering the state of this defense and the state of his weaponry right now. Bengals. It was rock bottom for the Bengals in week 15. Remember, they got shut out by the Ravens. Then in week 16, much better spot. It's warm. They're playing in Miami. They're playing bad defense. T. Higgins is back. And we saw vintage Joe Burrow. 309 yards, 4 touchdowns. Bengals win 45-21. So hopefully that will correct some of the stuff that was going on in Joe Burrow's mind, the emo stuff or whatever. Evan, what do you think of Bengals win over the Dolphins?
Yeah, the vibes were real bad. We talked about that on the Friday show with Wiggins and, you know, the press conferences and the body language on the field in the previous game. And essentially it looked like they were just trying to lose in the previous game. And then we talked about it on Sunday. I was like, yeah, but maybe they could reverse those vibes and just go all out. Like they have all hands on deck. T. Higgins is back. And that's like exactly what they did. And now they got another opportunity to do that going back home against Arizona, which, as we mentioned earlier in the show, the Cardinals are, first of all, they're not very good on defense, and they just lost like 3 of their best players on defense to catastrophic injuries. So I kind of expect the Bengals to do the same thing and finish strong offensively.
Yeah, for fantasy Super Bowl week, having Bengals is going to be like a huge key here, in my opinion. And that goes for Chase Brown also. Since Jake Browning was benched in week 6, ahead of week 6, Chase Brown is fantasy's number 7 running back, behind only Gibbs, Bijan, CMC, Achane, JT, and James Cook. I mean, number 7 running back for Chase Brown. If you would have asked me that in September, I'd been like, there's no way Chase Brown could wrap up week 6 on as the fantasy's number 7 running back because he's still losing tons to Pirine. Snaps were 37-24 Brown, opportunity 16-10 Brown over Pirine, but he's still been so efficient. And when you play with Joe Burrow, that's what happens, you know? And when you play with Joe Flacco, like that's what happens. So shout out to Chase Brown for really carrying a lot of teams here down the stretch. Browns. As I just mentioned, Browns played a very good game against the Bills, but it was marred by a terrible injury to Quinshon Judkins. Judkins dislocated his ankle and fractured his fibula in the second quarter. Good news is knee ligaments appear to be intact for Judkins. First reported timelines were only 4 to 5 months, which actually surprised me. I thought the timeline would be way longer than that. But first, their initial timelines on Judkins are 4 to 5 months. Evan, what do you think of the Browns and Judkins' injury?
It's very unfortunate because it looks like it's very serious, and it happened at this stage of the year in week 16, and you just don't know if he's going to be back for week 1, and it puts the team in a bind. Do they have to go find another RB, or they just bring back Raheem the Rocket Sanders, and he's going to be their main back? Obviously, they have Dylan Sampson. I believe Jerome Ford is an impending free agent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Quinshon Judkins is probably not going to be able to practice for the entire offseason. Probably won't be ready for week 1.
It was a really weird rookie year for Quinshon Judkins. Remember back in July, he was arrested on domestic charges. Prosecutors declined to charge him. He went unsigned through all of training camp. Quinshon Judkins did not sign his rookie deal until the Saturday of week 1. He came out of the gate, though. They loaded him up with work. I thought he looked really, really good. He kind of sputtered out here late, only 3.6 yards per carry, but it was obviously a horrific environment. So I thought Quinshon Judkins, from an on-field perspective, was a pretty good hit for the Browns, even though he only got 3.6.
Also showed at least a little bit of receiving acumen, I thought, when he got those opportunities. He had 5 catches in this game, but that was not, he lost all that stuff to Travion at Ohio State.
I hope we get to see Dylan Sampson back for these last 2 games, and I think that we might. He has a hand and a calf issue. I kind of think he might play this week, and if he does play, it could be a huge role for Dylan Sampson. No Quinshon Judkins, no Jerome Ford. And man, they should really want to get a long look here at Dylan Sampson these last 2 games. Broncos. So we saw Bo Nix play the best game, I thought, of his NFL career in week 15. On Sunday against the Jaguars, Bo Nix comes back to earth, only completes 59% of his passes. And most surprisingly to me, the Broncos defense got shredded. They lose their first home game of the season. Evan, what do you think of Broncos' loss to the upstart Jags?
I remember thinking before this game, wow, this total in this game, 47.5. Like, wow, that seems like way too high. And it pretty much soared over that, finishing at 34-20 in favor of Jacksonville. I don't know, the big note that I had was that Pat Bryant suffered a concussion in this game. And so I would assume that he is going to miss next week. But, I mean, the Broncos went up against a really good defense.
Yeah.
And they moved the ball. I mean, they absolutely moved the ball. I don't really – these are 2 of the best teams in the NFL vying for the number 1 seed,
It doesn't feel like it, It feels like they could lose in any game, both the Broncos and the Jaguars.
Oh, absolutely.
It does not feel like just on RJ Harvey, from a data perspective, it's so clear he's awesome because he's getting goal line touches and receiving stuff. From a watching perspective, and as a lifelong Broncos fan since last week, I did watch this game. RJ Harvey was awesome. I mean, he takes hits and then runs away from guys. I mean, and he's
definitely gotten better.
Oh man, and he's super physical. He's not running out of bounds. He's lowering his shoulder into guys. He's a really natural pass catcher. So from both a spreadsheet bro perspective and a ball knowing bro perspective, RJ Harvey looks, just awesome to me here. He had a 30.
And I'm not saying that he's, Darren Sproles or, any of these stud, receiving backs that Sean Payton has had historically, but I mean, you can use him like that.
Yeah. I mean, he had 5 targets in this game and the goal line roll and a 38-yard run and a 32-yard catch. It's things that just not many backs do. And again, when you play for Sean Payton, you're going to have that receiving role. So yeah. Oh, by the way, this loss though, not good for the Broncos. They went from 70-something% to get the bye. Now it's a pick 'em between them and the Patriots to get that first round bye. Good news for the Broncos, though. They get to play Chiefs' 3rd string quarterback here on Thursday night. Texans beat the Raiders, but it wasn't easy. I mean, they had to hang on for a 23-21 win, did the Texans. They just could not make any explosive plays. The longest C.J. Stroud completion in this game was just 24 yards. I mean, Jawar Jordan, his long run was 12 yards on 15 carries with Woody Marks out. So was not an explosive offensive performance, Evan, even though Texans were home against the Raiders. Thoughts on their game?
Well, I mean, it's everything that you said from the Texans offense. Just the question comes out because their team is so built around their defense, and their defense got shredded by Ashton Genty. Their defense over the past 2 weeks has lost two defensive tackles who played a lot, Mario Edwards and Tim Settle, and they were without Azil Al-Shahir, their best off-ball linebacker who just got voted first team to the Pro Bowl. So they were really shorthanded, and the Raiders took advantage of that, and that's how the Raiders were able to take close. You mentioned that the Texans didn't generate any explosive plays. Well, the Raiders did.
Yeah.
And that was how this game turned out to be really close.
I do think Woody Marks will be back next week, but just for the record, in this game, it was Jawar Jordan 30 snaps, Nick Chubb 21. Opportunities, Jawar Jordan 20, Nick Chubb just 7. So a lot of people gave us pushback on our projection. We had Jawar Jordan well ahead of Nick Chubb, and people were not happy about that. Nick Chubb, way more name value than on-field value these days. You're playing an undrafted rookie over Nick Chubb. Colts come out in this game last night with their most pass-centric game plan of the season, one of the most pass-centric game plans of the entire year for any team, and that's with 44-year-old Phillip Rivers at quarterback. And I thought Grandpa Phil actually performed well. Not just well, very well. And that reinforced the take that I gave last week, that quarterback play in today's NFL is way more mental than physical. I mean, it's just way more. So I was impressed. They couldn't run the ball, though. They couldn't play defense. And the Colts lose to basically get eliminated from the playoffs. Evan, thoughts on Colts game last night?
Yeah, it's another game I listened to on the radio driving across the Midwest. But it was awesome to listen to. I was thinking, man, what if I was one of those kids who was, had been being coached by Phillip Rivers in high school. I would have been losing my freaking mind as he's out there balling out. And I mean, they didn't get the win, and they were going up against the 49ers. Don't have a good defense. They lost all their good players, but still getting the ball to Alec Pierce like he did, and getting the ball to a ton of different guys. Josh Downs had 5 catches. It was really, really fun just to listen to. And also you have to note, maybe we take away a little bit of it because he was going up against the 49ers defense, but the Colts, by the first possession of the game, the only starting offensive lineman who was in his natural place was Quentin Nelson, the left guard. They had both of their starting offensive tackles were out, and they lost Taylor Bartolini, their starting center, on the first series of the game. So there were definitely things working against Phillip Rivers as well. But, I mean, that was incredible that he was able to put up those kind of numbers even against the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, Rivers can't even throw it 35 yards. He literally can't even throw it 35 yards down the field, but he knows what's happening pre-snap. He knows when they're faking a blitz versus when they're coming. He knows where you go with the ball in X situation. I mean, he's just proving all that stuff matters way, way more when everything in the NFL is pushed underneath anyways these days, or most of the past games are pushed underneath anyways. But yeah, just brutal loss and brutal run out for the Colts. They've lost 5 straight. I mean, at one point they were
7-1.
They were 7-1.
They were 7-1. They had the consensus offensive player of the year. That's been a really big story of their the Colts fall off. I mean, the losing both starting cornerbacks has been obviously really problematic, down to Phillip Rivers at quarterback. That's been an issue, but the fall off of their running game. And my theory is that because they've had to run so much at a shotgun because they had Daniel Jones playing with a broken leg, literally, and now Phillip Rivers, I mean, he can only function in the shotgun, that their running game was just kind of always destined to crater. And obviously you add in the offensive line issues. But running out of the shotgun is a lot less efficient in the NFL than is running under center.
Yeah, I mean, 5 straight losses and now pretty much dead for the playoffs are the Colts. Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence came into this game on absolute fire for the last month, but it came against some very weak defenses. On Sunday, Trevor Lawrence shredded the Broncos' elite defense. Just insanely impressive performance on the road against the Broncos. T-Law accounts for 4 touchdowns, does not turn the ball over, goes 23 of 36 for 279. Jaguars knock off the AFC's number 1 seed, Jaguars 34-20. I mean, if you didn't believe in Trevor Lawrence's turnaround before, and I was still kind of skeptical about it, to be honest, I much more believe it now. So yeah, Evan, what do you think of Lawrence and the Jags' impressive win over the Broncos?
Yeah, well, that was totally fair to be, to still have some skepticism of Trevor Lawrence because of the opponents that he had faced in the previous 4 games. They lined up, and he knocked them down, and it was easy. But this is why, like, when you see people, oh yeah, like the results matter more than the context. The context should always be, kept in consideration. And I talked about this last week, but like when he's crushing opponents week after week after week, like just saying, oh yeah, when he plays the Bengals here and the Titans here, yeah, but he's doing it repeatedly and he's doing it like emphatically.
Yeah.
And yeah, he blew up the Jets, but guess what? Then he goes to Denver and blows up Denver.
Yeah.
The way that the offense is functioning, and this is another thing that Trevor Lawrence really has going for him. Well, in Tampa Bay, you're seeing it. There is rhyme and rhythm to the Jacksonville offense. There isn't in Tampa Bay. This is obviously stems as a Liam Cohen thing. And also, Trevor Lawrence has been running every week. At the beginning of the season, I had Trevor Lawrence ranked as a top 10 quarterback. Now, he was in a big bucket with like 15 other quarterbacks, and I just had him at the start of the tier. But like, I was worried that wasn't going to come to fruition, that he was going to maybe really finish in the 20s and nowhere close to 10 after about 6 weeks because he wasn't running. Well, then Trevor Lawrence started running. You remember last year Baker Mayfield ran more than ever in his career under Liam Cohen. They started running. That's been a huge thing, I think, not just for like his fantasy stats, but also for adding to the rhythm of the offense, because picking up first downs, on 3rd and 7, or even like 3rd and 4, just to keep the offense moving and to give you rhythm and to help the timing of your offense can be so huge. And Trevor Lawrence has always been a really good athlete, but I think that's been really, really huge for him. Running more.
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence.
For sure. From a fantasy perspective, they have used him as on sneaks around the goal line a lot.
That's been huge
as well. We were kind of debating throughout the week who would Patrick Surtain be on mostly. He ended up being mostly on Brian Thomas Jr. here. I guess in part that helped Parker Washington get off for 6 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown as the clear slot guy. Jacoby and BTJ were outside more in 3 wide receiver sets. Tim Patrick's role was reduced to only 8 routes. Parker Washington's had some really good games this year, like really good games. Obviously, with Travis Hunter coming back, it's going to be different for him next year, but I just wanted to note that. And only other note that I had on Jaguars, this was no Bashal Tutin due to the finger surgery. He might not be back until the playoffs. So we saw a bit more LaQuint Allen, but we got Travis Etienne goal line receiving touchdown, and that's kind of been where Tutin has played a little bit. So that was a good thing for Etienne to get that rep there and convert the touchdown catch.
One other note, this is from ESPN's Mike DiRocco, has covered the Jags for a long time. Last year, the Jaguars averaged 18.8 points per game as a team in the 2024 Jaguars. This year, over their last 6 games, they've won 6 games in a row. They are beating their opponents by an average margin of 18.8 points per game. So, I think we can all collectively say that the offense has arrived.
Speaking of offenses not arriving, let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs, who were already playing without Patrick Mahomes due to that torn ACL and LCL. Early on in this game, they lose Gardner Minshew to a knee injury. So he hurt his knee 3 plays into this game. He tried to play through it, but he couldn't. Ended up not tearing his ACL, but has other damage or something else is going on in his knee. God, I forgot. I was supposed to look up how to say this guy's name before the show. The YouTube commenters are going to kill me. But anyways, that left the Chiefs with Chris Aladukin, and horrific offensive play ensued. Evan.
I remember that guy from Street Fighter.
Duke Ryu. Yeah. So I'm not even going to say his name, Evan. Any thoughts on this guy and the Colts game in Tennessee?
I remember him getting drafted. He was like the 244th overall pick. He played at a bunch of different colleges. He finished at South Dakota State. And if you look at his numbers, he wasn't like a dominant college player. When he went in the game, he didn't look like he wasn't a total embarrassment. I don't think he's going to do well against Denver, or anything like that. And I don't think that any aspect of the offense is going to do well against Denver. But it's nice for him, Sam Aladukin.
Yeah. I kind of played into the narrative a little bit like, oh, it's over. All the Chiefs have left to play for is getting the ball to Travis Kelce before he retires. I'm just not sure he's that capable. Like, even if you try to force feed to Kelsey, like, he's just not that
especially
capable.
with a non-existent offensive line
Yeah.
and backup quarterbacks.
Yeah. Last thing on the Chiefs, Evan, and we can talk about this more in the offseason, but how worried are you on Xavier Worthy, who has been like pretty much a zero, like unusable in fantasy for pretty much the entire year?
Kind of worried.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that he might be like a bust. You mean
He's just
in
not
the
good.
NFL?
He's just not good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a pretty good chance that he might just turn out to be like a role player
Yeah.
who is used to try to tilt coverage because he can run fast. I mean, it's really hard at wide receiver at any position. It's a sport made for bigger dudes,
Yeah.
and he's a really little guy.
I want to think about it more. I don't want to write him off because what he did when after Rashee Rice got hurt last season was so impressive. But yeah, I'm going to think about it more, but I'm definitely worried. I mean, it's been a bad year for Xavier Worthy. Raiders got Geno Smith back here, and it really settled them down. The story was Ashton Genty, probably the best game of his NFL career / season, especially if you adjust for matchup against Texans. I mean, Genty made some insane individual plays, 51-yard touchdown run, 60-yard touchdown catch. And people are going to use this to say, see, I told you Genty was worth the 6th overall pick. I still disagree, but whatever. It was an awesome game for Genty. Evan, what do you think of Raiders?
Yeah, it was great for Genty. And again, adding some context, as I talked, about before, the Texans were missing 2 starting defensive tackles and their best off-ball linebacker in this game. I think that that's more relevant for us as it pertains to the Texans' defense going forward. But I mean, Ashton Genty is good. I also don't think he was probably worth the number 6 overall pick. Maybe not even close to the number 6 overall pick, but it was really nice to see him and make that reception too. 60-yard receiving touchdown. That was awesome. He's been good in the passing game. He's been good in the passing game for an extended stretch.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that Genty's not worth a 6th overall pick. I'm saying he's not worth a 6th overall pick to the Raiders. So like a good team, he could make a big difference.
That's what I was referring to as well.
Yeah. So like a good team, yeah, like it can make a difference. For a team like the Raiders that has such bad offensive line and quarterback play, it just doesn't matter. Only other note I had.
Also, Rap Sheet
go ahead.
Suggested that maybe Pete Carroll, which we've been talking about on this show for weeks and maybe months, that Pete Carroll could be one and done.
I think so.
And Rap Sheet kind of
I think so too. Good to see Brock Bowers ran every single route, even with Michael Mayer playing this game. We have seen some spotty Brock Bowers usage this season, but it looks like they're going to close it out with him running every single route. Raiders get to play the Giants this week in that battle for the number 1 overall pick. Ashton Genty is going to be very popular this week, I suspect, in the DFS streets. Chargers. I mean, everyone knew this was an incredible spot for Chargers pass game on paper. I was a bit scared to pull the trigger on it because of offensive line issues, the Justin Herbert wrist stuff. But credit to Herbert, this was his best game in a long time. And maybe it mattered that he got Quentin Johnston back healthy here. Quentin Johnston had an insane one-handed touchdown catch. Herbert goes over 300 yards. Chargers are now 11-4 and still have a chance at a round 1 home game. Evan, thoughts on Chargers win at Dallas?
They lost Jamari Sawyer, who had been filling in at left tackle. I mean, I guess he would be considered like their 4th string left tackle at this point, but he had sort of solidified that position a little bit. It just, to me, because the Chargers had done so little in the passing game since like week 7, this to me is just a reminder that little Cowboys blip where it looked like they had gotten their defense together, and they were without Quentin Williams in this game.
Yeah.
That was a mirage.
Yeah.
Because the Cowboys have not been playing good defense since that little 2-week blip at all, even with Quentin Williams in the game. But I also don't want to take anything away from Justin Herbert. I love Justin Herbert. He's a freaking baller, and his toughness is unbelievable. But in terms of like the raw statistical results here, I think that they were swayed by the fact that the Cowboys have a Swiss cheese defense that was missing Quentin Williams.
Yep. In the run game, Kimani Vidal went down here with, I believe it was a neck injury. They're calling him day to day. That allowed Martin Hampton to get 16 carries and 2 targets. If Vidal is out again, we'll see some Hassan Haskins, but Very good for Hampton if Vidal is out. I'll say this, though. They have to play the Texans and the Broncos in their final 2 games. So 2 very difficult matchups coming up for the Chargers. Last note, all 4 wide receivers were in the mix for the Chargers here. And on 33 dropbacks, it was Ladd McConkey, 31 routes, Quentin Johnston, 24, Trey Harris, 17, and Keenan Allen also 17. So,
they love Trey Harris, man.
It's just a tough click on these guys, given how flat it's been in routes and targets.
And you didn't even mention Rondé Gadsden.
Rondé Gadsden got 23 routes, another floor game, but it's just crowded. I don't think it's anything to do with Gadsden. It's just crowded.
Yep.
Let's go to the Patriots. Patriots rally in the second half against Tyler Huntley, win 28-24 in Baltimore, and now the Patriots are in a battle for the AFC's #1 overall seed. Big fantasy story hurt mine and Evan's FFPC team. Travion Henderson admittedly was doing nothing early, but he got knocked out with a concussion. That allowed Ramondre Stevenson to go on and have a really good game. I mean, he got all the work, and I thought he played really well, especially considering the matchup. Evan, what do you think of Patriots win on Sunday night?
The big story to me was the passing game, especially in the fourth quarter. But Stephon Diggs was the best player on the field against Baltimore, and Drake May was the best player on the field in the fourth quarter, I thought. Now, the Patriots right now, it feels like they're limping into the playoffs. They can get healthy. I mean, Milton Williams is due back from IR pretty soon. Robert Spillane, it looks like he shed his walking boot. Those are defensive injuries, but Morgan Moses left this game with a knee injury. Will Campbell has been out. We don't know when he's going to be back. Those are their starting 2 offensive tackles. Jared Wilson, starting guard, he's in concussion protocol. Kayshon Boutte is in concussion protocol. Obviously, Travion Henderson is in concussion protocol. And then Pop Douglas, their situational slot receiver, he had a hamstring injury in this game. So a lot of moving parts from an injury standpoint in New England, both on offense and defense.
Yeah. The Steph Diggs thing is so crazy. I mean, we've talked about it. They, even in that huge game against the Bills, they did not expand Steph Diggs' role. And then in this game, out of nowhere, Steph Diggs runs 40 routes on 50 dropbacks and goes off for 138-0. So, Boutte being in the protocol and Pop Douglas being out, they might be forced into Steph Diggs more usage. And as Evan said, he was really impressive. I mean, really, really impressive in that game.
Did it for Cardi.
Did it for Cardi. Jets, I mean, I don't even know what to say. They're playing out the string with Brady Cook. They lose 29-6 in New Orleans. One thing that I will say, and I noted this on the Sunday morning show, and it is tough for our models and our algorithms to kind of keep up with how bad the Jets are. Like, it's hard because we have some data when they had Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, and like that data is completely irrelevant. And now like they're starting Brady Cook. It's just, they're so bad. Just a totally dead team heading into this Week 17 game against the Patriots. So yeah, Evan, any Jets thoughts here as they play out the string?
I just want the Jets to finish with 0 interceptions and become the first team ever to have 0 interceptions. I'm talking about the Jets defense, obviously. Yeah.
They have not made an interception all year. Pretty crazy. Titans. So Titans beat up on the Chiefs' third-string quarterback, moved to 3-12. Honestly, man, one of fantasy stories has been this 3-week run for Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was dead, an awful year. Then out of the stone cold blue, 3 straight 100-yard games, scores 3 touchdowns, should have actually had another touchdown in this game, but there was a miscommunication, just a terrible, stupid call. Like, the guy comes in, reports himself as eligible, refs don't see it, and they take away Tony Pollard's 1-yard touchdown. But man, he's been like almost the guy you needed. Like, if you could drag any best ball team through that was still alive, Tony Pollard's been getting like 20, 25 points a game just out of nowhere. So anyways, Evan, what do you think of Titans win over the Chiefs?
Yeah, and Tajay Spears played pretty well in this game as well. Cam Ward has been playing a lot better. And I mean, no one talks about it because who the heck wants to talk about the Panthers? But
Titans,
the Titans. Yeah. But Cam Ward has had a strong second half, I would say, a promising second half as it pertains. Who knows what the future holds for the freaking Titans?
Yeah.
I mean, they got a whole lot of organizational reshuffling to do. But Cam Ward has played like a guy who has a chance to be a quality starter in the NFL in the second half of the season.
Yeah. One more thing on the Pollard stuff I just wanted to say. During this 3-game run that Pollard has been on, he only has 1 catch, and Tajee Spears has 11. So, even though he's running really well, Spears is still the guy that is in there in the passing situation and the guy that they throw to. All right. That is going to do it for another edition of the Team by Team show. Appreciate all you guys tuning in each week. Very, very happy holidays to everyone out there. If you have not yet, please hit subscribe on the YouTubes. It is indeed totally free. For Evan, producer Ryan, producer Luke, for everyone behind the scenes at ETR, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.